Ready? Okay, everyone put your fists up. Okay, right arm backwards, left arms forward, and that's a right cross. Now, that's a left jag. These are 2 moves you need to know when you're fighting Ed. First rule about Ed, we don't talk about Ed. Second rule about Ed, we don't talk about Ed. This is not your average love story. Because Ed is not who I thought he was. He was actually selfish, abusive, and manipulative. In short, Ed was not a good person. This may be because he wasn't a person at all. Ed is really just the acronyms ED, as in eating disorder. Ed is my eating disorder. Ariana Grande once said, yeah. But she also once said that we tend to be very judgmental and close-minded to those that we see as different or special, which is why it's so difficult for young people to feel comfortable enough in their own skin to ignore those picking on them. Our problem arises when we begin to think that outward appearance correlates to other attributes. We create this disconnect between who a person is and what that person looks like. We then manifest this idea that beauty and appearance should be valued above everything else. We make it so the ultimate goal is to be beautiful, and more often than not, this encompasses what color your skin is, the amount of makeup you wear, or whether or not you fit into a specific pair of jeans. It is my concern that if we don't begin to value people of all shapes and sizes, genders and skin colors, we will continue to allow our nation to divide and teach generation after generation to determine the value of each individual by what they look like. So today, let's first step into the ring and see how our society became so image-obsessed. Then let's roll with the punches and see how this obsession affects our nation. Till finally, third, let's throw a counterpunch and find some solutions, so we can put an end to the lookism epidemic. Now, I consider myself somewhat of an adrenaline junkie, but even the adrenaline that comes with kickboxing doesn't compare to that comes with stepping on a scale and seeing the number go down. But I stand here today and I ask myself, why did it take 12 years for me to start caring about how much I weighed? Why did I feel the need to turn to Ed in the first place? It's because I wasn't born hating my body. I was taught to hate my body. Just like we are taught to hate how those around us look. The media is constantly bombarding us with tall, slim, white women. In fact, in 2017, an NYU PhD student went to a runway, and he counted all of the models hired. Every single one, and out of the 677 models, only 27, or less than 4%, were non-white. Women and men are constantly searching for ways to change what they look like because society tells us that if we reach these unattainable goals, we will be happy, successful, and just plain better. We place an overwhelming amount of importance on what we see rather than what is true. Like in 2016, Alicia Keys was presenting the award for Best Male Video at the VMAs, and she recited a beautiful poem in honor of the 53rd anniversary of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. But instead of this powerful message blowing up all over the news, the only news of Alicia Keys was about her lack of makeup. In times when we should be coming together, instead we are dividing because we simply can't accept that there are things that should be valued so much more than whether or not you're wearing makeup. But this comes to the point where people are neglecting their health and their well-being because all they want is to be accepted. Now, I remember when Ed and I were still in the honeymoon phase, and I felt amazing. I remember people would go up to me and say, "Thea, what are you doing, girl? You look amazing." I have never felt more confident in my own skin. But that didn't last long. Soon enough, my relationship with Ed began having detrimental effects on my health. Now people were coming up to me and saying, "Thea, what are you doing, girl? You look like you're about to pass out." Very similarly, this idea of I want to be pretty quickly turns into I will do anything to be pretty. and that can also have detrimental consequences. In a survey conducted by the National Institute of Media and Family, they found that of girls ages 9 to 10, 40% of them had already tried to lose weight. By age 15, 53% of American teenagers are unhappy with their bodies, and this number grew to 78% by the time girls reached 17. Now, as I look back on my relationship with Ed, starving myself because I was depressed, and then getting more depressed because I was really freaking hungry, I've come to the conclusion that that might have been the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals, maybe ever. For a very long time, I equated my happiness to how good I looked. I thought that I had never seen a beautiful person look sad. But by telling people, especially women, that they can only be beautiful if they're taller, slimmer, have bigger breasts, or anything else, we are telling them that they only serve as something for us to look at and admire. We then raise children to think that these individuals are objects. We raise children to become perpetrators that treat these individuals as if they are objects. But how are we supposed to teach future generations that trying to fit this mold society has created for us shouldn't be a goal at all, when we have influential people saying things such as, someone who is flat-chested is very hard to be a 10. We need to open up our minds to reality. We are closing ourselves into this little bubble with so little opportunity and so little room for growth because others' assumptions of us are set on us the minute that they look at us. We shouldn't change our outward appearance to change how other people perceive our worth. I shouldn't have to change what I'm wearing to feel safe. I shouldn't have to be extremely underweight for people to respect that I have a mental illness. We need to change this idea that what is shown is what we get. I finally realized that I needed to break up with Ed when I began to lose everything. I came to see that I was hiding behind the mask of Ed. But this is something we are all guilty of. We are hiding our imperfections and our insecurities behind a mask. It's okay to want to wear makeup. It's okay to want to lose weight. It's okay to say, I think this person is more attractive than this person. But it's when we start saying this person isn't worth my time or respect, it's when we start saying my life would be so much easier if I was just a little bit prettier, that we have a problem. Now, I'm not going to stand here today and tell you to treat others the way you want to be treated. Obviously, that doesn't work. The solution to this problem isn't so much to focus on how we treat other people, but more so to focus on how we treat ourselves. The first thing we can do is remove toxic people and negativity from our lives, because we can't stop hateful people from being hateful, but we can choose to ignore them. We can choose to ignore the people who tell us that we are not enough. I mean, we all know the saying, sticks and stones may break our bones, but chains and whips excite me. Second, we need to start cutting ourselves some slack. In her original oratory, Ed, Beatrice Amorum states that we shouldn't have to change our outward appearance to change how other people perceive our worth. And I couldn't have said it better myself. But we also shouldn't have to change our outward appearance to change how we perceive our own worth. So stop comparing yourselves to others. I know it's easier said than done. But when we spend time bringing ourselves down, we are wasting precious time we should be enjoying. So wear that outfit you feel so good in. Wear as much or as little makeup as you want. Go on that diet if it makes you feel good. Or don't. We need to start using these tactics to build ourselves up, rather than put ourselves down. Because when we find self-love, it becomes that much easier to love other people. Now, unfortunately, Ed was not someone I could just right cross away. In reality, it took numerous doctor's appointments, therapy, and medication before I was finally able to distance myself from Ed. And if I'm being honest, I do still hang out with Ed from time to time. My road to recovery is just one thing about me that isn't straight. I have my ups and downs just like anyone, but I'm constantly working on becoming the happiest and healthiest version of myself. We aren't going to wake up every morning feeling like our best selves. Life doesn't work that way. There are going to be days where we can't help but feel uncomfortable in our own skin. But the 7th rule of Ed states, fights will go on for as long as they need to. So let's cast our judgments aside. Be nice to yourself. Be nice to others. And let's keep on fighting.